Greetings, family. Blessings, brothers and sisters. We are here for another installment of our G.O.C.C. Fit for the Gathering of Christ Church, where we're discussing all things in relation to fitness and nutrition. I'm your host, Brother and Elder Rawchaa of the Gathering of Christ Church. And tonight, or today, we will be going into the topic of all things iron. All things iron. All right. So I know a lot of times when people hear the word iron, they think of metal, right? And so, iron, it is a metal, and we're going to talk about that and more. And we are basically wrapping up and concluding and now going into the minerals. And we, went through vitamins A through Z, or should I say A through K. Our last G.O.C.C. Fit podcast, we had all things vitamin K. And that pretty much wrapped up talking about our vitamins. And I will just give a quick little story here. Elder Rawchaa, who has the website Key Supplements, I basically, went into showing where, you can actually get a supplement he has that has vitamin K and vitamin D in it. And he messaged me up and told me, that particular, podcast we did, that live stream we had, brothers and sisters actually sell out on his website that particular supplement. So that's good to know that, brothers and sisters are actually, listening, that they are taking heed to the information that's coming out, and they're also supporting, supporting the work, supporting brothers and sisters who are, have their own businesses, who are entrepreneurs. And so all of that is definitely delighting to hear. And I wanted to share that real quick before we go into our information for this particular live stream. All right. So let me first pull up, because now, being that we have concluded the information going into the vitamins, we're now going to shift over into minerals. Now, what is a mineral? Let me pull this up here on my screen so you all can see this. And this is on Wikipedia. As you can see here, mineral, and it says nutrient. Okay. It says nutrient. In the context of nutrition, a mineral is a chemical element required as an essential nutrient by organisms to perform functions necessary for life. However, the four major structural elements in the human body by weight, oxygen, hydrogen, carbon, and nitrogen, are usually not included in the list of major nutrient minerals. Okay, so we're not going to deal with the four major structural elements. Okay, we're going to deal with what you get more so from your diet, what you get from eating. It says these four elements compose about 96% of the weight of the human body, and major minerals, macro minerals, and minor minerals, also called trace elements, compose the remainder. So we have about 4% of our body is made up in weight of these minerals, both major and the minor minerals. And so a person may look at that and think that, well, because it only constitutes 4% of the body, that it's not that important. Minerals aren't that important. Yes, they're very, very important. Minerals are extremely important. All right, because we actually come from the earth. And because we come from the earth, um, you know, our, what we get from our diets should be comprised from what's coming out of the earth, those minerals. And, it all goes hand in hand when you understand this the simple concept of us being made from dust and being made from the earth. Then we also must get from what comes out of the earth for our well being. All right. And let's keep going here. And the reason that these minerals only make up 4% of the body weight is because they're really, really small. Okay, they're really, really, um, they're microscopic in nature. So something that small isn't going to, be heavy in weight. It says here, nutrient minerals, being elements, cannot be synthesized biochemically by living organisms, meaning that we can't create nutrients. We can't create minerals. Our body cannot make minerals. They have to be consumed through diet. It says here, plants get minerals from soil. Most of the minerals in a human diet come from eating plants and animals or from drinking water. So this is how we get our minerals. Okay. Like I said, we're made from the dust. Plants actually feed from the earth. So they're able to extract minerals from soil, right? And therefore, plants contain minerals. Also, you have animals who eat plants, who they eat what grows from the ground, and therefore now these animals take on these minerals from their diet, and then by us eating the animals, we then get the minerals from them also. And you can also get minerals from drinking water. Okay, water also has minerals. So as you can see, our environment is perfectly designed so that we have to eat, we have to drink, and you know water is the basis of what we should be drinking. So therefore, it's it's impossible not to get minerals based upon that setup there. It says here, as a group, minerals are one of the four groups of essential nutrients, the others of which are vitamins, essential fatty acids, and essential amino acids. So we've talked about vitamins. It says here the five major minerals in the human body are calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, and magnesium. All of the remaining elements in the human body are called trace elements. The trace elements that have a specific biochemical function in the human body are iron, chlorine, cobalt, copper, zinc, manganese, uh, molybdenum, or molybdenum. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce that particular mineral, iodine, and selenium. Okay. And so we are going to be talking about iron today. All right. We're going to be talking about iron. And I know somebody may say, well, iron is a trace element, it's a smaller or a minor or a macro mineral. Why are we starting with iron? Well, as you'll see, I believe iron is probably the most important mineral for various reasons when it comes to uh, getting these nutrients, these minerals from the soil. Iron to me is the most important. Okay. Not that they're not all important, but iron is definitely one of, or if not the most important of these minerals. So now let's talk about iron. Here we have our medical news today, everything you need to know about iron. It says iron is a mineral vital to the proper function of hemoglobin, a protein needed to transport oxygen in the blood. Iron also has a role in a variety of other important processes in the body. Okay, so we know that the scriptures talk about the life is in the blood, and we see how iron is responsible for hemoglobin, which acts as a protein that transports oxygen in our blood. And we know oxygen is the breath of life. Okay, we need oxygen. We know we breathe oxygen, which was one of the four, major elements that comprise of the body that we read earlier on Wikipedia. And we know that with pretty much every second, we are inhaling oxygen. And without that, in a matter of a couple minutes, you will die without the oxygen. So just to show you how important iron is, just for the sake of getting the oxygen in the body where it needs to be to do and perform the function and processes that it needs to perform and function. So it says here, a shortage of iron in the blood can lead to a range of serious health problems, including iron deficiency, anemia. Around 10 million people in the U.S. have low iron levels, and roughly 5 million of these have been diagnosed with iron deficiency anemia. This MNT Knowledge Center feature is part of a collection of articles on the health benefits of popular vitamins and minerals. It provides an in-depth look at recommended intake of iron, its possible health benefits, foods high in iron, and any potential health risk of consuming too much iron. Okay, so it has facts of iron here, which we are going to discuss here in this particular article. We have recommended intake, where it goes through how much iron a person should get in their diet. Okay, infants, children, males, females. And, once the broadcast is over, you will have the references and the links that we go over so that you will have them for your own personal reading. You can read on your own time and go through and get these particular details here. It also talks about iron supplementation, which we'll talk about later. It says iron supplements can be helpful when people find it difficult to take in enough iron through only dietary measures, such as in a plant-based diet. So we're going to find out, just like we've talked about in the past, that if you're plant-based and you're vegan, then you're going to find it very difficult to get the proper nutrients in your diet through just plants alone, and that plant based minerals are harder. Same with vitamins, they're harder for the body to absorb and use as opposed to eating animals, which is the reason why I strongly advise, unless you have some serious type of health condition that you need to abstain from eating animal flesh, that you at least eat, have a little bit of animal in your diet. And I don't suggest eating a lot of animals, right? When I say animals, of course, here at the Gathering of Christ Church, we're Bible believers. Leviticus chapter 11 gives us the clean animals that we can eat. And so only those animals which have been ordained by the Creator that we should consume, right? And so you should consume at least a little bit of animal flesh, as well as, eggs, which come from chickens. Primarily we eat chicken eggs, and then you also have dairy products such as the milk that comes from cows, goats, etc. Cheeses that are made, sour cream and yogurts and stuff that are made. And so all these things, I don't advise that you eat them in abundance, but I do advise that you eat at least a little bit so that you can get these minerals and these vitamins. And you're going to see that it's the same with iron. Very, very important with iron. Um, and here in a moment, we'll see this. It says it is better to try to consume enough in the diet alone by removing or reducing factors that may hinder iron absorption and consuming iron rich foods. So, we're going to talk about iron absorption because a lot of people suffer from lack of iron in their blood. Okay, you go to the doctor tells you, your iron count is low. There's a reason for this. Okay, we're going to talk about it. It says this is because many iron rich foods also contain a range of other beneficial nutrients that work together to support overall health. Okay, so not only are you getting iron when you eat these foods, you're getting other nutrients, other minerals, other vitamins. Benefits of iron. It says here iron helps to preserve many vital functions in the body, including general energy and focus, gastrointestinal processes, the immune system, and the regulation of body temperature. The benefits of iron often go unnoticed until a person is not getting enough. Iron deficiency anemia can cause fatigue, heart palpitations, pale skin, and breathlessness. So, just some signs there that if that's happening to you, it could possibly be that you are not getting enough iron or having an issue with the absorption of iron from the foods that you are eating. But as we can see here, iron being very, very important um, in our diets. Okay, very, very important. Healthy pregnancy. Blood volume and red blood cell production increase dramatically during pregnancy to supply the growing fetus with oxygen and nutrients. As a result, the demand for iron also increases. While the body typically maximizes iron absorption during pregnancy, insufficient iron intake or other factors affecting the way iron is absorbed can lead to iron deficiency. Okay, so you can see how a woman who's pregnant, the demand for minerals, vitamins, nutrients, because she is carrying and having to, um, provide for the baby, becomes in high demand because now you are taking on enough for two. The good thing of it is typically women don't require as much nutrients, minerals, vitamins as men. So that's good that women don't necessarily require as much for their bodies to function. But babies, require a significant amount because they are growing. So they need the nutrients so that they can grow. And without the proper nutrients, then you're going to have issues as the baby is in gestation inside the mother's womb. It says here low iron intake during pregnancy increases the risk of premature birth and low birth weight, as well as low iron stores and impaired cognitive or behavioral development in infants. Pregnant women with low iron may be more prone to infection because iron also supports the immune system. Okay, so we're seeing, once again, the importance of this mineral, especially for pregnant women and the baby. It says it is clear that iron supplements are needed for women who are both pregnant and iron deficient. However, research is ongoing as to the possibility of recommending additional iron to all pregnant women, even those with normal iron levels. Okay, and then it goes into how much is recommended for women who are pregnant when it comes to iron. Energy. Insufficient iron in the diet can affect the efficiency with which the body uses energy. So if you're having issues, you're not feeling very energetic, iron could be one possible cause. A lack of iron could be a possible cause of this. Iron carries oxygen to the muscles and brain and is crucial for both mental and physical performance. Low iron levels may result in a lack of focus, increased irritability, and reduced stamina. Better athletic performance. Iron deficiency is more common among athletes, especially young female athletes, than in individuals who do not lead an active lifestyle. Again, because remember, iron is responsible for hemoglobin, which is a protein that transports oxygen through the blood. So if you're an athlete or you're working out or exercising and you're doing, strenuous, um, performing, exercising and things like that, then if you're not getting the proper oxygen to the cells, to the blood, so that it can get into the areas of your body, your muscles, and things like that that need the oxygen, so that they can actually recover, so that you can continue to keep going, then you're going to have issues with your performance. You're not going to be able to run as long. You're not going to be able to train as long, exercise as long. All right. So iron very important when it comes to athletic performance. It says here, let's see, this appears to be particularly true in female endurance athletes, such as long distance runners. Okay, long distance, meaning you need lots and lots of oxygen as you're running a marathon or a long distance um, race. You need the oxygen. If the iron's not in your blood, oxygen can't get to where the oxygen is coming into your body, but it's not being used and processed and the proper way, and therefore you're going to be short of breath, and you're not going to be able to perform to the level that you're looking to perform. It says iron deficiency in athletes decrease athletic performance and weakens immune system activity. A lack of hemoglobin can greatly reduce performance during physical exertion as it decreases the body's ability to transport oxygen to the muscles. So there it is. Right? Foods. It says iron has a low bioavailability, meaning that the small intestine does not readily absorb large amounts. This decreases its availability for use and increases the likelihood of deficiency. So, what we're going to find out today is that iron is one of those minerals that the body has a hard time absorbing. Very, very hard time absorbing. So typically, you're not going to run into many issues with being toxic with too much iron in your body, typically, especially if you're just eating foods that are high in iron. I'm not talking about somebody who's supplementing. Supplementing is different. That can definitely cause toxicity if you're not careful. But if you're eating lots of iron-rich foods, then it's welcomed because iron has a hard time absorbing in the body. It says here the efficiency of absorption depends on a range of factors, including the source of iron, other components of the diet, gastrointestinal health, use of medical use of medications or supplements, a person's overall iron status, presence of iron promoters such as vitamin C. Okay, we're going to talk more about these things in detail. Just getting an overview here. In many countries, wheat products and infant formulas are fortified with iron. So what you're going to see is that a lot of things that are processed, especially in the Western world, they actually fortify or they supplement iron into the food because that's just how serious. And again, that's why I say iron is probably the most important mineral because when you look on your food labels, typically what you'll see is iron in some capacity, some percentage being in your food. And you won't see really any other mineral listed as far as being in your food, but you always will probably see iron in everything. It says there are two types of dietary iron known as hemi and non hemi, or heme, or just say heme or non heme. Animal sources of food, including meat and seafood, contain heme iron. Heme iron is more easily absorbed by the body. So, again, we are seeing that animals provide a better source of nutrients absorption. We talked about the vitamin D absorption and how vitamin D was better absorbed through animals than it was through plants. It's the same with iron. Okay, and this is again, if you're getting a little bit, me myself, I eat meat once a day for the most part. I try to not eat a lot of meat in my diet, but um, at least by getting the meat in my diet, I'm making sure that I'm covering my bases when it comes to nutrients that are better provided with eating animal flesh or meat. Right, lots of vegetables, fruits, but I get my fair share of meat in for this purpose. So heme iron is more easily absorbed by the body. Non-heme iron, the type found in plants, requires that the body take multiple steps to absorb it. Okay, so the non-heme is the iron that you find in plants, and it's just that much harder for the body to use that iron um, and to absorb it into the body. Plant based sources of iron include beans, nuts, soy, vegetables, and fortified grains. The bioavailability of heme iron from animal sources can be up to 40%. Okay, so you're looking at being able to utilize 40% of the iron that you get from eating animals. Non heme iron from plant based sources, however, has a bioavailability of between 2 and 20%. So anywhere from half the bioavailability of animals all the way down to 2% is the amount of iron that can be used. So you can see how for a vegan this can be very problematic when it comes to making sure that you have the proper amount of iron as well as other nutrients in your diet, only eating vegetables. For this reason, the RDA for vegetarians is 1.8 times higher than for those who eat meat to make up for the lower absorption level from plant based foods. Consuming vitamin C rich foods alongside non-heme sources of iron can dramatically increase iron absorption. So we're going to talk about that more later as well. That vitamin C is an iron, go hand in hand, hand in glove, right? So if you are having issues with your iron count, iron absorption, any of those things, you have iron deficiencies, any, iron deficiency syndrome or condition, then make sure that you are getting the proper amount of vitamin C through foods, preferably, or a good food based supplement so that your iron can be better absorbed. Okay. So, lots of citrus fruits. We talked about the different foods that contain the vitamin C, bell peppers and things like that have the vitamin C in there and will help with the iron absorption. And this is why I say if you pretty much have a overall diverse diet, you're eating a little bit of everything that's, you know, food from the earth, a little bit of animals, then you're gonna pretty much cover your bases when it comes to getting your nutrients. The issue comes into play when you have people who only eat certain things. Like for instance, you don't like vegetables, but you like broccoli, and all you eat is broccoli. Well, that's going to be a problem because broccoli is not going to give you everything you need. Or maybe it's another vegetable, carrots, all right, or you know, tomatoes, whatever it is. If you're only eating that one vegetable, or you only eat apples, you don't eat any other fruit, then you're going to run into some problems with nutrient deficiencies. But if you're eating a little bit of apples, a little bit of oranges, some bananas, you're eating a little bit of everything, cherries, grapes, all that, you're eating um, your green leafy vegetables, you got your radishes, your broccoli, your cauliflower, your different types of greens, your kales, your green onions and your bell peppers and all those things. Then you're eating all these different veggies and fruits. Then you're going to cover most your nutrient needs, nutritional needs through nutrients. Same thing with animals. If all you eat is chicken and nothing else, well, you might be missing out on the benefits of eating something like beef. And maybe, okay, beef is red meat, so I don't want to eat as much. So you maybe eat beef once a week, right? You also have lamb. You can eat lamb or goat. You have eggs, maybe a little bit of cheese, a little bit of dairy, um, you know, as much as you can from organic, very good sourced dairy, but you don't need a lot. You just need a little bit. You're getting that little bit in your diet. It goes a long way. Okay, so just having a real diverse diet, and if you are vegan, hey, maybe start introducing fish and eggs into your diet, just so that you can get the things that fish and eggs are going to give you, the fats that are going to be able to allow the fat soluble vitamins to be absorbed and um, transported throughout the body, the minerals that, like the heme, iron, that is more readily found in things like animals. So therefore, you're eating your fish and your eggs to get the heme iron, right? So just something to think about for those out there. Uh, we definitely should be eating more veggies and more fruits. We're not eating enough. Our diet should probably be about 80% of fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, and then animal flesh, meat from there. But it's typically the other way around if we're getting any veggies or fruits at all. Okay, so that doesn't mean because heme iron is in animals that we only eat animals now. Like, no, that there's a problematic with that too. And we'll talk about these things more as we continue along this path of nutrition. Okay, um, let's keep going here. When following a vegetarian diet, it is also important to consider components of food and medications that block or reduce iron absorption. So you have different things that block iron absorption. We'll talk about this more later. Then it goes into some of the best sources of iron. You have, we don't eat, or here at the Gathering of Christ Church, we don't eat clams. Okay, shellfish is unclean, but nonetheless, it is a high source of iron. You also have fortified cereal and oats, high source of iron. White beans, dark chocolate, oysters, unclean. Cooked spinach, beef liver. Again, liver has a lot of different minerals, vitamins, but I wouldn't suggest getting things from liver because liver is a organ, and organs filter toxins. It's not necessarily in our law that you can't eat liver, but I would just say it may not necessarily be expedient or wise to eat liver. But we also have here boiled and drained lentils, firm tofu, boiled and drained chickpeas, canned stewed tomatoes, lean ground beef, medium baked potato, roasted cashew nuts. Calcium can slow both heme and non-heme iron absorption. In most cases, a typical varied Western style diet is considered balanced in terms of enhancers and inhibitors of iron absorption. Okay, so now it goes into risk and how much you should be getting a day of your iron intake. You know, upset stomach can be a common side of effect of iron supplementation. So if you're taking iron supplements and you get an upset stomach, that could mean that you're getting too much iron. Okay, but we're going to talk about a way to get natural iron into your diet, as well as other minerals and vitamins, so you don't have to worry about, taking a pill. Something that is in nature that your body can readily identify, because really our bodies are made to eat things how they were created in nature. And then if it's processed and made, in a processed way, our bodies aren't really designed to take in anything in that manner. It's just not the way our bodies are designed and set up. It says here, adults with a healthy digestive system have a very low risk of iron overload from dietary sources. Let's see, what else do we have here? People with a genetic disorder called hemochromatosis are at a high risk of iron overload, as they absorb far more iron from food when compared to people without the condition. This can lead to a buildup of iron in the liver and other organs. It can also cause the creation of free radicals that damage cells and tissues, including the liver, heart, pancreas, as well as increasing the risk of certain cancers. Frequently taking iron supplements that contain more than 20 milligrams of elemental iron at a time can cause nausea, vomiting, and stomach pain, especially if the supplement is not taken with food. In severe cases, iron overdoses can lead to organ failure, internal bleeding, coma, seizure, and even death. Okay, so don't worry about that, because we're going to deal with being able to take an iron supplement that can pretty much alleviate dealing with any of things in association with iron overdosing. It is important to keep iron supplements out of reach of children to reduce the risk of fatal overdose. So just like with anything, too much of something can kill you, or it can be fatal. Okay, or cause issues health wise. Okay, so it's just not, our bodies just aren't made to just take supplements like that in a pill. Okay, instead of taking supplements in a pill, change your diet. Okay, locate what you need in foods based upon what you're lacking, and then center your diet around those particular types of foods. And the biggest issue you'll have with that is making sure that you're not consuming too much for getting excessive amount of calories. But if you're eating vegetables, not a lot of calories with vegetables. So you're typically going to be safe eating as much vegetables as you want. And then preferably raw. When you cook the vegetables, a lot of these nutrients leach out into the water or however you cook them, and you won't even get the minerals that are in there. They're gone now. So preferably you want to eat more raw veggies, lots of salads. Also, the an excessive amount of iron intake can increase the risk of liver cancer because now your liver has to deal with getting rid of all that iron that's coming into the body for those that are popping iron pills. Also, it may increase the risk of type 2 diabetes. Also, we're looking into scientists whether or not the excessive amount of iron can cause neurological diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, brain injury, bleeding with the brain. Also, the increased risk of osteoarthritis from too much iron, because iron and calcium are pretty much like positive and negative. Calcium can affect your iron intake, and too much iron can affect your calcium intake or absorption in the body. You also have here how iron can also affect medications that a person may take. So, as we always say, make sure that you check with your physician, your healthcare practitioner, your doctor. I'm not a doctor, I'm a physical trainer, nutritionist, and health coach certified. And these are the things that we, um, actually are schooled on through our learning in those certifications. We learn about these things because it's important as we're dealing with our clients that we're actually teaching them the different things about diet and dieting, because diet and fitness or nutrition and fitness go hand in hand. They work together. You can't just exercise and do good with exercise but then eat a poor diet. Okay? And you don't want to just eat well but not exercise, because now you're not getting any blood circulation, you're not sweating, all you're not getting your heart rate up. All these things matter. So you want to use them in conjunction. Okay, and I think that's it with this article here. All right, so let's speed through what we have left. We have more articles here. I'm not going to go through all of them. You will have these at your own disposal to go through, but pretty much what we've already discussed, that iron is an important metal that contributes to the formation of red blood cells and hemoglobin, to the normal transport of oxygen in the body, to good cognitive function, to energy production, and to reduce fatigue. So, iron is a metal. Okay, we'll talk about that more later. Um, and not only does it contribute to hemoglobin, which helps to transport or carry oxygen from the lungs to all parts of the body, it is also a component of myoglobin, a protein that carries and stores oxygen to muscle tissue. Okay, so mainly when you talk about iron, you're talking about oxygen. Can the oxygen you breathe in be used properly in the body? Without the iron in your body, you're gonna have issues with the oxygen. Okay, your cells are alive. Your cells need oxygen. If your cells don't get oxygen, just like you, if you don't get it, they're gonna die. If your cells are dying, your lifespan is being cut short. Okay, so again, we see how important iron is. Okay, so it goes into symptoms of iron deficiency. You even have confusion. So someone who's always confused could be from lack of iron. It goes into the different type of people that can develop anemia or iron deficiency, pregnant women, menopausal women, children, older people, vegetarians, endurance athletes. And then we have 12 healthy foods that are high in iron. Not going to go through this, but you will get this. We also have 14 signs of iron deficiency anemia. All right. And now let me pull up our World Health Organization PDF that we typically go through when we go through our podcast here dealing with the nutrients. So, what we have is the vitamin and mineral requirements in human nutrition, second edition. This is by the World Health Organization. And this was, 1998 that it was originally first publicized or published. And then you also have 2004. So this is, 20, 30 years in the making of this PDF here. And let's go down to iron. Okay, here we go. Iron. It says here, role of iron in human metabolic processes. Iron has several vital functions in the body. It serves as a carrier of oxygen to the tissues from the lungs by red blood cell called hemoglobin, as a transport medium for electrons within cells, and as an integrated part of important enzyme systems in various tissues. Iron metabolism and absorption. Iron is not actively excreted from the body in urine or in the intestines. Iron is only lost with cells from the skin and the interior surfaces of the body, intestines, urinary tract, and airways. Okay, just some FYI here. Earlier studies suggested that sweat iron losses could be considerable, especially in a hot, humid climate. However, new studies which took extensive precautions to avoid the interference of contamination of iron from the skin during the collection of total body sweat have shown that sweat iron losses are negligible. Okay, so basically, that when it comes to iron, there's a peculiar way that iron leaves the body, typically not leaving through sweat. All right, going to our next part here. All right, and there's a lot of science in this PDF. So for those science nerds out there, you want to go through this and you can get all the science. You can eat your heart out, but for the most part, I just want to keep it pretty simple. Hit some of the basic points here, so that it's easily understood for those who maybe aren't as intellectual when it comes to the science. All right. It says iron absorption. With respect to the mechanism of absorption, there are two kinds of dietary iron: Heim iron and non-Heim iron. In the human diet, the primary sources of Heim iron are the hemoglobin and myoglobin from consumption of meat, poultry, and fish. Whereas non-Heim iron, we talked about this already, is obtained from cereals, pulses, legumes, fruits, and vegetables. The average absorption of hime iron from meat containing meals is about 25%. The absorption of hime iron can vary from about 40% during iron deficiency to about 10% during iron repletion. Hime iron can be degraded and converted to non hime iron if foods are cooked at a high temperature for too long. So, if you're cooking your meat at too high of a temperature for too long, then therefore that iron can change into the form of iron that is not the best absorbed form of iron, which is the non. Calcium is the only dietary factor that negatively influences the absorption of hime iron and does so to the same extent that it influences non hime iron. Non hime iron is the main form of dietary iron because it's in plants. Okay. The absorption of non hime iron is influenced by individual iron status and by several factors in the diet. Dietary factors influencing iron absorption are outlined in box 13.1. Iron compounds used for the fortification of foods will only be partially available for absorption. Once dissolved, however, the absorption of iron from fortificants and food contaminants is influenced by the same factors as the iron native to the food substance. Iron from the soil, various forms of clay, is sometimes present on the surface of foods as a contaminant, having originated from dust on air dried foods or from the residue of the water used in irrigation. Okay. Even if the fraction of iron that is available is often small, contamination iron may still be nutritionally significant because of its addition to the overall dietary intake of iron. Reducing substances that keep iron in the ferrous form must be present for iron to be absorbed. The presence of meat, poultry, and fish in the diet enhance iron absorption. Other foods contain chemical entities, ligands, that strongly bind ferrous ions and thus inhibit absorption. Examples are phytates and certain iron binding polyphenols. So you have, we're going to talk about it, certain foods that have, different, chemical, what you would call chemical entities that actually will inhibit the absorption of iron. And there's nothing you can do really about that. It just means that you just have to make sure that you're getting a diverse diet so that you're getting a lot of iron or focusing in on those iron specific foods if you are deficient in iron because of this thing, these particular chemical entities that actually block the iron absorption. And these chemical entities are just, chemical components. They're not necessarily anything that's being added to the food. It's just part of the plant, a certain component that's in the plant that actually inhibits our bodies from absorbing that iron. They're called phytates. It says here, inhibition of iron absorption. Phytates are found in all kinds of grains, seeds, nuts, vegetables, roots, like potatoes and fruits. Chemically, phytates are inositol hexaphosphate salts and are a storage form of phosphates and minerals. In North American and European diets, about 90% of phytates originate from cereals. Phytates strongly inhibit iron absorption in a dose-dependent fashion, and even small amounts of phytates have a marked effect. Bran has a high content of phytate and strongly inhibits iron absorption. Whole wheat flour, therefore, has a much higher phytate content than does white wheat flour. In bread, some of the phytates in bran are degraded during the fermentation of the dough. Fermentation for a couple of days, sourdough fermentation, can almost completely degrade the phytate and increase the bioavailability of iron in bread made from whole wheat flour. So there are certain different things like fermentation that can break these phytates down that will then allow your body to better absorb the iron. All right. So these are no, this is just FYI. If you're not someone who is iron deficient, then it may not necessarily be the biggest of deals. But if you are, then this may be something that you look into and finding out more about to better utilize the iron that's in your food so that you can absorb it. Oats strongly inhibit iron absorption because of their high phytate content that results from native phytase in oats being destroyed by the normal heat process used to avoid rancidity. Sufficient amounts of absorbic acid can counteract this inhibition. Absorbic acid meaning vitamin C. We talked about that earlier. Okay, we'll talk about it here more in a moment. Almost all plants contain phenolic compounds as a part of their defense system against insects and animals. Only some of the phenolic compounds, many of those containing gallol groups, seem to be responsible for the inhibition of iron absorption. Tea, coffee, and cocoa are common plant products that contain iron binding polyphenols. Many vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables, spinach, and herbs, and spices, oregano, contain appreciable amounts of gallol groups, which strongly inhibit iron absorption as well. Consumption of betel leaves, common in areas of Asia, also has a marked negative effect of iron absorption. Calcium consumed as a salt or in dairy products interferes significantly with the absorption of both Heim and non-Heim iron. However, because calcium is an essential nutrient, it cannot be considered to be an inhibitor of iron absorption in the same way as phytates or phenolic compounds. In order to lessen this interference, practical solutions include increasing iron intake, increasing its bioavailability, or avoiding the intake of foods rich in calcium and foods rich in iron at the same meal. So, another thing that can help you with iron deficiency for those who are dealing with this issue, calcium rich foods. So, make sure that you're not eating calcium rich foods at the same time that you're trying to get your iron. You would want to separate that. You'd more so want to focus on getting your iron and calcium at different times. So that also goes into knowing, okay, what foods have calcium, right? But for most people, if you're not having any type of issue with your iron, then a lot of this is maybe good knowledge to know so that you don't fall into the condition, but it's not something of emphasis in your diet that you have to focus on. Enhancement of iron absorption. Ascorbic acid is the most potent enhancer of non-Heim iron absorption. Synthetic vitamin C increases the absorption of iron to the same effect as the native ascorbic acid in fruits, vegetables, and juices. Okay, so definitely get your vitamin C from natural sources. Would not recommend synthetic vitamin C. The effect of ascorbic acid in iron absorption is so marked and essential that this effect could be considered as one of vitamin C's physiological roles. Okay, so big issue for those with iron deficiencies. What's your vitamin C looking like? Your vitamin C intake. Make sure you're getting that in, and you'll definitely boost your iron absorption. Each meal should preferably contain at least 25 milligrams of ascorbic acid and possibly more if the meal contains many inhibitors of iron absorption. Therefore, ascorbic acid's role in iron absorption should be taken into account when establishing the requirements for vitamin C, which currently are set only to prevent vitamin C deficiency. All right. Meat, fish, and seafood all promote the absorption of non-heme iron. So not only does the animal flesh have the heme iron, which is the more absorbable form of iron, it also helps to promote the absorption of the non-heme iron, which is in plants. Okay. It should be pointed out that meat also enhances the absorption of heme iron to about the same extent. So if you're eating your meat, you're eating your vegetables at the same time, then the heme and the non-heme iron are going to be there, and you're going to be able to better absorb both. You're getting the better absorbable form of iron through the meat. You're getting the non-heme, which is the less absorbable form of iron, through the vegetables, but the meat then influences, all right, it actually um, it magnifies the absorption of the vegetable form of iron. It says meat thus promotes iron nutrition in two ways. It stimulates the absorption of both heme and non-heme iron, and it provides the well-absorbed heme iron. Epidemiologically, the intake of meat has been found to be associated with a lower prevalence of iron deficiency. Organic acids such as citric acid have been found to enhance the absorption of non-heme iron in some studies. Sauerkraut and other fermented vegetables and even some fermented soy sauces enhance iron absorption. Populations at risk for iron deficiency are infants, children, adolescents, and women of childbearing age, especially pregnant women. So, typically, when you talk about iron deficiency, you're usually talking about women who have low iron count or are anemic, right? A sign of iron absorption issues is always cold, being always cold. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that it is an iron deficiency if you're cold, okay? But it could be. Typically, women tend to be more cold natured. The weaning period in infants is especially critical because of the very high iron requirement needed in relation to energy requirement. In developing countries, however, the iron situation is still very critical in many groups, especially in infants in the weaning period. During this period, iron nutrition is one of great importance for the adequate development of the brain and other tissues such as muscles, which are differentiated early in life. Okay, let me see if we have anything else here. As we are coming to a conclusion, when it comes to all things iron, We also have here prevalence of iron deficiency. Iron deficiency is probably the most common nutritional deficiency disorder in the world. See that? See why I say iron is the most important mineral, maybe even nutrient, because of you know, the high level of deficiency. And for the most part, it's just because it's so hard to absorb. Okay, it's so hard to get in the bloodstream. And so if you're not eating the proper way, you can find yourself very easily in an iron deficient state, among other deficient states. All right. I think that is it for this document here. Yeah. So that is again the vitamin and mineral requirements in human nutrition. Second edition, World Health Organization PDF. And now, lastly, I want to discuss here what do we do about making sure that we don't fall into an issue with being iron deficient? How do we supplement iron without being toxic or having iron toxicity? This is something that you all are probably very well familiar with. And I would say one of the greatest supplements I think that a person can take. The reason being is because of what you see here on your screen, and that is CMOS. It says here CMOS, 92 minerals. What do they do to our body? It says the human body naturally requires 102 different minerals and vitamins to function properly. However, sometimes we have too few of certain mineral or vitamin in our body, which can have serious negative side effects. Did you know that there's an ingredient that contains a whopping 92 out of the 102 minerals that the human body needs? As a result, CMOS, used for dietary and medicinal purposes since the mid 1800s, has been heralded as a super food. So here we have the 102 minerals that make up the body. So again, we come from the dust. All of these minerals you find in the dust, right? Just more confirmation the Bible being true, that Adam was made from the dust, and this just happens to be the minerals that are in the soil that make up our body, that our body needs. Now you see 102 minerals here, and of course earlier we read that there weren't but 5 major minerals, and then you have the trace elements that are biochemical, that have a specific biochemical function in the body, and you only had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trace elements. So you're really looking at about 14 minerals that we really typically are, at least what science is able to, um, what science is actually able to readily identify in the body as having a biochemical function. But nonetheless, of course, science can only understand so much. But we see here that there are still 102 minerals that make up the body. So these minerals are in the body nonetheless, regardless if they understand what their purpose is in the body, or if they have a major purpose in the body for what they do in processing and bodily functions. But CMOS covers you. It's really your one-stop shop for supplementation. If you're taking CMOS, then you probably don't necessarily need to take anything else as a supplement. Also known as iris moss, this ingredient can help individuals consume essential minerals and vitamins without planning elaborate meals or taking additional supplements. Obviously, 92 minerals would take us a long time to cover in just one blog post completely. Still, we want to talk to you about 10 of the most vital minerals and vitamins that sea moss contains, as well as what they do for the human body. So we're going to come down here to iron. Number 4, boost your mood and energy. Without iron, our body cannot properly grow, develop, or produce red blood cells. When we experience iron depletion, anemia can cause us to feel fatigued, weak, and dizzy. Anemia is especially common in women who store roughly a third of the iron men store in their bodies. As a result, we all need to consume between 9.7 and 14.8 milligrams per day to combat iron deficiency, depending on our size and sex. Sea moss contains a staggering 9 milligrams of iron per 100 grams. That's a far higher percentage than that of chicken. So the next time you're feeling fatigued or low on energy, you may want to consider mixing up a sea moss smoothie rather than turning to a meat heavy meal. So we see that sea moss has more iron in percentage than that of chicken. Now, does that mean that sea moss alone is all we need to eat to survive? The answer to that, I would say, is no. Because again, we know that plants have the non heme iron, which is not as absorbable. But that if you are eating the animal flesh, then you're going to make that non heme iron that much more absorbable, as well as getting the heme iron that is more absorbed by the body. But sea moss is your supplement of choice because not only does it give you the iron that we're talking about that the body so greatly has an issue with absorbing, but gives you so many more minerals and vitamins to go with it. It's just a supplement, okay? It's a supplement to your diet. Now, that doesn't mean that you eat sea moss and you can eat McDonald's every day and be fine. That's not what that means, all right? Another article here. How sea moss helps you overcome iron deficiency. Health enthusiasts and fitness freaks worldwide are aware of sea moss and its potential health benefits. Many have started using and recommending sea moss because of all its incredible properties. But at the same time, the other proportion is using sea moss as a supplement. This article will shed light on everything you need to know about sea moss, especially if it's any good for people with iron deficiency or not. It's common knowledge that sea moss is packed with unique properties. It is rich in minerals and vitamins that our bodies require. But will it help you with your iron deficiency? Let's find out. Sea moss is an iron supplement. It's no secret that sea moss is rich in calcium, vitamins, etc. It also contains a decent amount of iron. It is essential to mention that most vegetarians are iron deficient because iron is most commonly found in seafood, meat, and poultry. Sea moss contains approximately 9 times more iron than regular poultry chicken, as 100 grams of sea moss contains 9 milligrams of iron, which is what we read earlier. This means if you start taking sea moss regularly, your body can get loads of iron and help overcome iron deficiency. Being a rich source of iron, sea moss helps the feeling of laziness or tiredness. Okay, and it goes into iron being responsible for oxygen, the red blood cells, all of that going on in your body. So that oxygen coming in is going to give you more life. Okay, oxygen is the breath of life. If you're getting low levels of oxygen because of low levels of iron, you're not going to feel very lively. Okay, so that's this article here. You also have um, 5 benefits of sea moss, a must-have supplement here on holisticvibes.com. It goes into the 5 benefits: high in iron and boost energy. If you're a vegan or vegetarian, then you may be having a hard time getting iron into your diet unless you're taking supplements. That's because you're not consuming animal foods rich in iron like beef, poultry, and seafood. Of course, you can consume vegan and vegetarian sources of iron like dark leafy greens, mushrooms, beans, or whole grains. But did you know you could find the same benefit in sea moss? So pretty much what we've been reading since the very beginning, what we've read in other articles, in this case, iron and sea moss, what it does for the blood, what it does for oxygen, what it does for your energy levels, amongst other things that sea moss has the ability to do for the body. Okay, so I would say, and this is not what sea moss looks like. All right, this is moss. This is actually some different type of moss on these rocks. Okay, sea moss looks more like a weed that you would expect to see in the ocean. Seaweed, not moss. It doesn't look like moss, but more like a seaweed. So, what I would suggest is maybe taking sea moss 3 times a week. I don't know that you necessarily need to take it every day, but maybe every other day if you're taking it. Right. So that way it should, because it's just a supplement. You just want to make sure that if at any place, if you're eating a diverse diet, if you're missing out on anything, you're taking it every other day, then you're making sure that you cover those deficiencies of what you're not getting. All right. And want to leave you all with this scripture, which is what we usually open up this broadcast. We're talking about GOCC fit. We usually open up with this, but did not open up with this. So I will leave you all with this as we conclude when it comes to all things iron. And that is from the Apocrypha, the King James Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 30, verse 15. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. All right. So just so everyone understands the importance of having good health. There is no dollar amount that you can put on it. You have people that are in a very bad state of body, and they would give all the money in their bank account to be healthy, and all that money is not going to make them healthy because they're in such a bad condition. And they feel like, there's no cure, there's no hope. And they would give all their money just to be healthy because it's not living when you're in a body that's sick and dying. It's not living. So let us make sure that we are making it our best effort to take very high consideration and placing high importance on our health and our body. Don't wait until you get into a bad state of health to then now want to change your diet and want to do things right. It might be too late. There may not be enough money in the world to get you back right once you get into that state. All right, so I'll leave you all with that as we conclude here for our latest broadcast, All Things Iron, here for G.O.C.C. Fit and the Gathering of Christ Church. And until next time, family, brothers and sisters, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.